right, joining me on the phone from Montana is a great musical inspiration to the Flathead, especially at Flathead High School for, 28 years?
28 years.
Wow. So joining me is Mr. Alan Slater. How you doing?
I'm doing really well. Thanks, Ken.
Well, we were just talking before getting on here about, how much I wish I was in your class. And I'm sure there's a lot of other people who feel that way. And there's a lot of people that I do know that were in your music classes and pep band or marching band that really enjoyed your work. What really got you interested in being a director?
Well, I had really good experiences with music as I was growing up, and I was fortunate to have a really good high school director in Miles City, which is where I went to high school at. Ralph Hartsey was kind of living legend there, and he emulated a good contact of making great music, but also making a human connection, and that always stuck in the back of my mind. When I went off to college to study, I knew really early on, because I took a number of classes in different areas, and I knew that my real calling was to help others, to be a teacher, to work with others. And the field that was the one that was the most inspirational for me was music. It always felt like it had unlimited potential. And so that's what I focused on, and that's what I made into my career. And I spent the last 28 years at Flathead High School, but that was the end of 37 years together of high school band.
Wow, that's great. I did some research, and I found out that through the history of music teachers within Flathead High School, that there was a period of time before you got there that they really had a struggle of possibly finding a perfect fit prior to you getting there. What made it so special with you that made you stay there so long with them?
Well, you're right. The year I got there, the senior class had 6 directors in the last 7 years. And they looked at me like, oh my gosh, we just got one more new guy. And I made the commitment because I do believe in longevity. And I believe, especially in instrumental music, that you need to be there, not only for them while they're in school, but to be a resource when they graduate. And I told the people that were in that class that, I'm going to be here next year. I'm going to be here the year after that. I told the sophomores, when you come back for your 10-year reunion, I'm still going to be here. And when your kids come to school, I'll still be here. And about 5 years ago, I got a call from one of my former students. And he said, you're not retiring yet because my son's coming, and you promised that I would not leave until he got there. And that was Sean O'Donnell and his son Wyatt. And I did. I made it all the way through and got Wyatt to graduate. And that's really special, seeing, second generation of families who come through in a band situation. But I've always believed in stability and in terms of being an active part within the community. And I believe that that's really one of the central roles that arts play, is enriching people's lives for a long time. Matter of fact, currently I'm conducting the community band, which is adults. And I'll still be conducting those, even though I'm retired from high school, and my plan is to be with them for some time. And it's just fun making music with people and sharing that with others.
It's different for me because obviously my mom was a coworker with you for, I do believe, 20-some years at the high school. And so I got to meet a lot of the staff and all that stuff. But to me, I think School District 5 has top-notch staff and teachers, and they really try to find people that care. And that's one thing that I've really heard through the years is how much you care for your students. And, that's hard to find. You go to other schools and you hear what other kids' experiences are, and you don't really hear that coming from other schools like you do from Flathead. And what was it about Flathead High School that made you choose to go to that and not some other school?
Well, and part of my choosing that, my wife and I had looked at several communities that we felt like would be healthy places to raise our children. And I have a son and a daughter. And we were in Shelby at the time, and we were looking for jobs that were opening up, and Kalispell was one of the jobs that opened up. And she actually has roots here. Her dad was Forest Service, so when she was growing up, she lived in the community before and loved being in the mountains. And we felt like Kalispell would be a place that we could grow our family and have great connections and great opportunities. And that's true to where it was when I came to Flathead High School. It was an interesting year. That was when it was a 3-year high school, and there was about 1,800 students in the school, and there were only 4 new staff people that year. Myself, John Capps, the librarian, they hired a new orchestra teacher, and there was an English teacher that they hired. And so the staff itself was really well cemented, and they had a great vision of challenging kids, but caring for them along that journey. And that, I'm happy to say, is still the whole mindset of the people that work at Flathead High School. They care about kids first. And that's real close and near and dear to my heart, because I believe that every student deserves the opportunity to have a place to shine and to do well and to know that someone's looking out and caring for them. So even though I work in the field of music and I challenge them a lot, and we've been able to do some incredible things with our musicians, there's always been that human element that I think is so important.
Now, I've always loved music. I find music to be my calming spot when I'm frustrated or I just need to relax. You know, and I think about all the years. I mean, I've been going to high school basketball games when I was a kid, you know, because my brother was involved in sports. My dad obviously was a coach at Trinity for many years, so we always watched former students. But I always loved going to the Flathead High School games because I was a drummer. I loved drums. I remember the old days when you would push the drum set all the way up that big ramp and bring it up there. And I always remember, you know, I don't know if it's because of the director or if it's because of the students, but I always thought that our pep band, marching band sounded so smooth, I guess, if that's the right word, compared to other schools where they kind of sounded off.
I see. Yeah. Well, it's a nice compliment. I appreciate that because that's one of those hidden places where directors and their expectations, they are modeled by their students. As I go to conventions and go to different places and listen to band and band kids, I can almost tell you which school they come from, depending on their background, but just by listening to them, because they have different things that they'll bring to the fore, because it's just part of that training. One of the things that the band directors have with their students is over multiple years, you have a chance to really mold and form that, and that's kind of a sacred trust, if you will, because you want it to be positive, you want it to be healthy, but you also want it to really challenge them at the core of making music. And we've had some incredible musicians come through our school, Flathead High School, and it's been an honor to work with them.
You know, I remember as a drummer, I always paid attention to the drummer. I remember, can't remember his last name, but TJ. He was in the marching band. Yep. And then also Tinsman. What is it, Jason? Yeah, he was, I do believe, a bass drum player. But I love listening to that. And my big question for you is, you had, over the years, a lot of concerts, whether it be the jazz or I think you did some of the orchestra as well, if I'm correct.
Well, we did some combined orchestra and band. We did our festivals, in terms of hosting kids back and forth, and of course the regular concerts and pep band. A lot of concerts over the years, yeah.
Which one is your favorite? I know the Stars and Stripes was one of the big ones, but which concert of the year was your favorite to do?
Well, that's kind of like asking which children do you love the most as a child, as a parent. What I loved is the integrity that we gave to each of the programs. When we were out on the marching field, we tried to be a really good marching band, and that was a fun time during that part of the year to focus on and really do that. Doing pep band up in the stands and get the kids all excited about the game and get the game really exciting with the crowds that pulled into there. That's a whole different kind of challenge, and it's a different feeling. It's exciting in a different way. doing massed bands when we're combined with other high schools. There was some literature that we could reach out and do that we couldn't carry all by ourselves, but putting two bands together. There were some moving things about that, too. Our Marches and Medleys concert that we came up with here in Kalispell, which was all marches and musical medleys. Our band parents used as a fundraiser concert. It was always exciting, too, because it was a specific kind of genre of music that I knew the audience would come in and relate to and love right away. Each concert had its own special things that were a part of it, and that's part of, I think, why kids have such strong impressions about what they did in high school, because we made each event special in and of itself, so nothing felt like it was a chore.
How difficult is it finding what set list you're going to choose for a concert? I mean, there's just so many different choices as years go on, because as new songs come out and become popular, you obviously are probably wanting to use those, but how hard is it?
That's probably in my mind, the single hardest thing there is about the modern band director in this setting. Because there's between 700 and 1,000 pieces of music every year that comes out. And some of it is not going to stand the test of time. They'd be popular for just a short period and then disappear. Some of it is fantastic music, but it may not fit what you need in the growth of the kids that you have in your program that year. So you have to kind of set that one on the shelf of your mind and say, we'll pick that up later on. And then there are some great pieces of music that were written several years ago that don't get played because the new stuff is out, and so people just gravitate towards what's new, and yet it's worth having back and forth. So oftentimes I would spend 3 or 4 weeks during the summer, not 8 hours every day, but going back and forth to reading clinics and sessions, to going on and listening to promo tapes, to re-looking at the people that are going to have in the program next year, to see where their strengths are, to whether they can carry that piece of music and convey it, and then try to stitch it together also so that you have a range of music within the time period, so you can really further the music education. And that is, in my mind, has always been the most challenging part of being a high school director, because you do have to select each piece of music each year to fit that overall balancing of what they need, plus what they can do, plus, hopefully, what will really be interesting for an audience to come listen to.
There's so many questions that I want to ask you, and I don't want to take up too much of your time, but just recently...
You're welcome to take as much time as you like. I'm sitting in a very comfortable chair here at Gardner Auction, and my wife's wandering around looking at things, so we're in good shape.
What is a highlight of your career? I noticed that this past year, I do believe you got to conduct the national anthem at Grizzly Stadium, Washington Grizzly Stadium. Is that one of them? And by the way, how was that experience? It had to be crazy.
It was crazy cool. My son has season tickets. He lives down in Missoula, and I've gone, of course, to several of the Grizzly games, and we've, as a matter of fact, each year we've marched in the homecoming with the Flathead Band, gone down the parade, and in the old days, before they had such great winning season, they used to have a band day, and they put all the bands, they combined like 7, 8 high school bands out of the field and had somebody conduct the band and do that at the halftime of homecoming. But, so I've watched that, and of course, being a graduate from Missoula, that's always had special meaning, and ironically, there was no marching band the years I went to school there because they had suspended it because of funding. That was an interesting one. So, but I've been listening and watching it forever, and when I got the call at a convention, Kevin Gregg, who's the director right now at University of Montana, he said, we want to honor our alum, and we know that you've made a special contribution to our state for several years, and, would you consider coming down and doing conducting the show? And so I had passes for my wife and my 2 grandkids and my son and his wife and my mother-in-law, who also was in Missoula, and we all got to go down on the field at pregame, which was just fun, and watch the Grizzlies come right out of the tunnel there and then walk over and do the national anthem. And it was very special. It was a great crowd. It was a beautiful day, and I had several people say that they'd come down and watch the game, and they thought it was a really great gesture, too, to be able to have that kind of honor. It was special. But over the years, there's been lots of special times that I've had. I think probably the years that stick out the most is when my own children were involved in the band program. It was fun making music with them every day. And they loved being there, and we had a great relationship as we went through that. Other highlights, I suppose, the year that we were featured as one of the premium bands in the Northwest and performed at the Northwest Music Educators Conference in Portland in 2003. That was really special. We've been featured bands up at the Banff Music Festival twice. Had our bands as featured performers as a part of that festival. Like I said, we've just had fabulous musicians come through the program here, and there are so many of those memories. It's kind of like that saying from the baseball story, that memories are so thick you could brush them away with you like flies, and that's kind of it when you start to reflect back on all the fabulous things that's happened.
How difficult of a decision was it to, call her good for your career at Flathead?
Well, I had several colleagues tell me over the years, you'll know when it's time. And, of course, the last few years I've been thinking, is it this year? Because you don't want to be in a situation where you decide in June that you're all done, because in fairness, you want to have some time to be able to transition the program, especially having someone be there as long as I've been at Flathead. I'm the oldest band director who's ever been in that position. And I didn't want the new person to come in and not have enough ample time to make that a smooth transition. So I wanted to look through and think about what the parameters were, but you have to kind of decide early on. And I just feel like at my point in my life, I've been nonstop as a band director 37 years, which there are people who do more. But for me, I felt like I'm losing some of that fire and passion that I should have every day when I go to work. And in fairness to the kids, they need as much as you can give them, probably more than you actually have. And that's always been a growth process for both of us as we go through the year. And it just felt like this was the right year to be able to say, I think this is it. And so I told my kids in the fall, so I could tell them all at the same time. We had a combined marching band practice. And probably the hardest thing to say is that this would be my final year as the director of band for Flathead High School. But it gave a long time for the kids to really think about and evaluate what that looks like, and really understand how much they have to grow and help the new director become the next person that makes our program a success. And the parents and also people in the community. And it's been a great celebration all year long, just to kind of go through each of the events and then have people recognize that, it's an amazing thing when we have a great music program in Kalispell.
How difficult is it going to be going to a Brave or Bravettes game and the timeout is called? Is it going to be hard for you not to stand up and play the high school theme song?
Well, I do have parts memorized on about 7 of the instruments just because I've played along with the pep band. So my fingers will still dance along as I hear it. And, but will it be hard to know that I can go to a game and actually just sit, relax, and watch that without having to think about how my role and function is? I think I can make that transition pretty well. I told my kids that my plan is to come and watch, because I still want to, I have a connection with all the way down to this year's freshmen. I said, I want to watch you all the way through your graduation, so I'm going to come listen to your concerts, but I'm not your band director. You have your own band director. He's going to take care of those things. So I'm going to be like Grandpa now. I can just come and watch for a little bit and tell you what I think's going well, and then let the high school director continue that growth and development.
You were talking about playing multiple instruments. What did you start playing at first?
I grew up as when I started, I was a sousaphone player, which is a tuba. And went into high school, in our middle school, when they started, they didn't have any tubas. They just had sousaphones, which was a wrap-around put on your shoulder. Funny story, when I got to be an 8th grader, I was getting ready to transition to high school, and I said, I don't think I'll be in band because I don't know how to play tuba. And the band director in middle school said, oh, it's just like this. It's just shaped a different way. And I said, oh, okay. Just that's how much you know as a kid. And I had a great experience playing tuba in high school. When I got to college, one thing my father had always been impressed with was trombone. And so I thought as a Christmas gift for him, I would learn and take lessons at college on trombone and surprise him, which I was able to go in and sign up for lessons and take that. And did play trombone, and then decided after that first year to major in music. And tuba's pretty expensive to buy, but a trombone is not. And so I was actually the first bass trombone major that the University of Montana had. Wow. And then I developed a jaw condition, so when I went back to get my master's, I majored on baritone or euphonium. That's what it is. So I have degrees on both those instruments, but feel very comfortable on using the brass section just because of the background I have.
Is there one instrument that you haven't played that you really want to play?
You know, as a part of your education and a part of mine when I grew up, I knew that I would be working in some very small communities and that I would need to have a good background on everything. So when I was in college, I took 2 years of clarinet lessons in addition to what I was playing brass. And part of your education, they do have a woodwind class and a brass class and a string class, because I'm certified to be able to do any of those, actually, in general music. So I've taken all those instruments and played all of them. I'm at various degrees of competency on all those, but I've played most everything that I've ever wanted to play. As a matter of fact, this last summer I was in Europe with the Northern Ambassadors of Music, which is a group of high school students that formed from Dakota and Montana, and we got over there and I got called on stage to play some alphorn, which was really a lot of fun. I had not done that until that summer. So we played alphorn in the Swiss, up in Switzerland. We were right out of a little community right out of Innsbruck. So we had a great time that way. So I pretty much have been able to play anything I wanted to. I just haven't had a lot of time to practice. But now that I'm retired, I get a chance to practice every day.
Now, do you write music at all?
You know, writing of music is a different kind of conceptual work. And I've not been a composer per se. It's really interesting because when you think about a band director, you pretty much envision them doing everything. And some of my colleagues have written some pieces of music, and some have been really good at it. That's never been something I've been interested in. I've done some arranging for some groups and for the band of different tunes, and that's as far as I go. But the composition part, it's a different kind of thinking that is not my strength and forte. So, and I've accepted that. It's not a failure. It's just a natural part of what I know what to do.
Now, you hear a lot of, school systems, cutting funding to music and the art programs. Has the Flathead High School had that same issue, or has it been fairly steady?
We've had our ups and downs, and we've always advocated. I've always advocated because I've been the department head at Flathead for 25 years, overseeing actually not only our building, but for a while the entire school district for the music program. And we always went in to make sure that we could be strong advocates to keep a strong music program. That being said, there's always a balancing act because the reality is sometimes schools aren't provided enough funds. And as long as the reductions were done in a systematic and all-encompassing way, we did our best to be able to accommodate and make do what we could get. We have had, and I've had some conversations with administrators and board members over the years about the importance of art and what it does for our kids and how it needs to stay as a central part of it. And actually, research these days has shown how strong and how important the arts are in developing students, their understanding of themselves, but also the understanding of their educational thinking properties that they use. We know one of the arguments used to be, well, do smart kids just take music, or does music make kids smarter? And as they look more at research, they're finding those people involved in music, it's making them smarter. And that's helped really turn a lot of heads. because it's not something they do, quote, just for fun. It's really one of the things that they do that makes them a better person all around. So that has helped in that process. And we've had, like, the ups and downs. There's been times where funding has been tough, and we've had to make some adjustments, and then we try to make our growth happen in other areas. And then there are times, not recently, where money's been a little bit more available, and we've been able to make some better advantages out of that, too. You know, music itself is one of those areas that is equipment large but staff small. When you look at, say, a high school English program, you've got a lot of staff people, and they have very few costs that are associated with them because they just have a gigantic set of books already available to them. But in the music area, most of them are covering sometimes almost twice as many kids as a normal teacher would within the school day. And they have to have, in the band field, some other equipment in order to that all function. So it's a part of the balancing act, and I think we've done a really good job of explaining how important that balance is, the educational properties in Flathead High School and also in Kalispell. So I'm real pleased with the music program.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I know for me, you know, I didn't just see you in high school. I saw you down the alley because you were my neighbor. But you know, my mom and dad always enjoyed you and your family being close by because we were lucky to have our neighborhood the way that it was. Everybody being so close and friendly, and you don't really see that a lot. But anyways, you're one of those people where you left a huge legacy and some big shoes to fill. And it's hard to find that in teachers because, you know, my dad was a teacher for 42 years, and it wasn't easy for him to walk away. We thought we would have to pry him out. But, you know, for the Flathead, and especially Flathead High School, to not have Mr. Alan Slater as the director of music, it almost seems like a dream. Like it isn't true. It's going to take some time for everybody to get used to it, but, you know, we're all very, very fortunate who had the opportunity to know you or work with you, and it's a big congratulations going your way for 28 years of great service for our community, and I just want to thank you.
Well, thank you very much for the kind words. You know, I always remember that quote from the old line, you know, somebody was looking for the job before I got here. They'll have another person come in, and I want to wish them all the best and keep music happening in our community. I think that's special.
Well, at least, like you said, we'll get to see you with the community band, and you've actually directed that for some years, though, haven't you?
This is my third year. I just finished the third year doing that. And so we've got a great schedule this summer, and of course we've got some great performances coming up during winter next year, and I'm just excited about working with those adults too. It's a new chapter in my life, and they're having a great time, and we're making some beautiful music. So, yeah, anytime you get a chance to hear them, anybody locally, it's worth hearing them.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks a lot for your time, and best of luck as you enjoy your retirement.
Okay, thanks a lot, Ken.